This episode of the WYcast is sponsored by Buy My Fucking Album. So, buy my fucking album. www.exp.uk. Nice one. Hello, my name's XP. I'm a hip-hop MC, producer, engineer and general musician based in Leeds, West Yorkshire. Those that know me know I have a lot of time for West Yorkshire-based musicians, and since my days running and hosting the WY Cypher, I've tried to always champion the local community while also maintaining my rapper arrogance that everyone but me is whack and they should all quit. But also maintaining my non-existent self-esteem that I'm actually the wackest around and I should quit. One thing that always reminds me that it's just sick to make music and be a part of WY is talking to other musicians, but in person and not on social media. After convincing myself podcasts are a waste of valuable music listening time, I decided to do one anyway, as at least this way you're listening to good musicians based in or affiliated with the West Yorkshire hip-hop scene, and I'll be expanding that out to soul and jazz musicians as well over time. I'll be talking to people I know, and hopefully those I don't as well, to speak to them about their music and their association with WY West Yorkshire. And just a side thing, I'm going to be constantly saying WY, WY, West Yorkshire, and interchanging them. So just get over it. Today, we've got my mate and yours, Adam Maddox, aka Ron Jonson, an amazing producer, works heavily with the SP404, works heavily with Fruity Loops, which we talk about. He's a really nice guy, a really cool dude. He works very hard and his music is very sick. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Beautiful. Happy birthday, Ron Jonson. Thank you so much for joining me on your birthday. Make a wish.
Oh, man. Do I have to
Not
say
out loud.
what it is?
No. You've got to keep it to yourself, man, just in case it comes true.
Yeah.
What could that have been?
Thank you.
Safe,
Legends.
man. Thank you so much for joining me. I mean, it's stupid that I'm even celebrating your birthday because this isn't going to come out until March or something. So it's kind of irrelevant, but I appreciate you giving up your afternoon to me, man. I appreciate that a lot, man. Ron Jonson, you're an absolute legend, man, and I'm really glad to finally get a chat. Well, this is it. Do you know what? One of the things that I've got written down is that you are the champion self-critic of West Yorkshire. I would say beyond, and every rapper and producer I know is like self-critical and doesn't think much about themselves. Lots of mental health issues going along in WY in general. But like, out of anyone I've ever met, I think you're like the pinnacle of like overthinking something and being like, I don't know whether I'm actually good or not.
That's proper on the ball, I reckon. That's mad. Yeah.
Is that just your life? Is in general? Are you generally that self-critical, or is there something about the music in specific that's like?
Not necessarily. No, I think there's times where like even with music, I'm like, nah, that's good. You know, I'm happy with that. Like,
of course.
At the end of the day, like, the reason I make music is to, you know, please myself. Like if I make stuff and it's like, that's amazing, then that's a win. But like, I think it's probably the fact that most of the time I don't feel like that.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it kind of
with your music or with everything, like
music.
Yeah, with music.
Yeah, I mean with other stuff as well. Like, you know, I think there's definitely like imposter syndrome that, you know, quite a few people deal with really. But I think, you know, like, I don't know. I'm sure of my abilities at times, definitely. And like sometimes I'm like, you know, I think there's times where you just feel like, man, like genuinely, I'm the only one doing this or capable of doing this. And then like that, sometimes I feel like that with music, but I know that sounds like really egistical.
No. It's nice to hear it from out your mouth, man. I don't think I've ever really heard that before.
I'm just not very like, you know, I hate self-promotion anyway. So this is the thing. Like, end of the day, like I say, my focus is being able to go, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
That's it, man.
You seem to like turn it on. I can't really decide what year it was or what time it was, but like I was looking on your SoundCloud the other night. What's over there?
There's no date on that, but that flyer there that I'm pointing at is
China Shop Bull,
which I think is where you were.
Oh yeah, the exchange. When was that? That was 2016, maybe. Was it
maybe, yeah, probably around that time.
But then that was the sort of time when you were kind of like starting to put music out publicly. Because I look back on your SoundCloud and there was something dating back like 10 years.
Yeah.
Right at the start. So you've obviously been sort of faffing with beats a long time. But I don't really... I knew of you, but like it seems now you're an artist in your own right. You're producing for other people. You're making your own stuff. Like, when did that sort of start going? Was there a point where you went, I'm just gonna like make some more moves than I was?
I think, to be fair, like, I think it all kicked off like, so going back to when it was 2016 or whatever, I think I saw you at that exchange gig, and you were like, I think, chatting to me, like, you were really like keen to know like what I'm doing musically, and I was like,
that's not like me.
I was like, well, yeah, no way, like, why have you got an interest in me? Like, what the hell's going on there? But that spurred me on. I was like, oh, you know, if XB's keen to hear more stuff from us, because that's what you're saying, like, oh, when are we going to hear more stuff from you? And I'm like, I wasn't planning on it.
Really?
Not until you'd like mentioned it.
Holy crap, I'll take that.
Maybe, I mean, I was still doing stuff, because obviously I played that gig, but it was more me DJing other people's stuff.
Yeah, you weren't playing your beats necessarily.
Not really, no. Like,
were you making many? Were you always making beats at the time? Or
yeah, but just really infrequently. Like, I think I was really productive when I was about, I think, like 17 to sort of like early 20s.
Yeah.
Making like breakcore and like jungle and electronic stuff.
Yeah.
But I think what kind of happened was most of my tracks ended up having like a little hip hop interlude or outro.
Yeah.
So then it was like, oh, well, why don't I just try and make some hip hop? And then I don't think I actually properly got round to it until I bought the SP 404, the 404A 2020. I think it was lockdown basically. I got the sampler, and that changed it basically. It was like working with the sampler took me away from working on a computer, which gave me more of an interest.
So it's more of an instrument as well, and something that you can
basically
perform out live with. That.
It was just far more satisfying. Like, you know, I think at the time was working as an IT engineer, and you know, sitting in front of a computer for most of the time and coming home and doing the same thing. It's like, I didn't really want to do that. So
fully.
Sampler kind of like, you know, it was alien to me, but like, what do you need a sampler for? Like, what can you do with a sampler? Like, and then I got it, and obviously I'd seen people with MPCs and the whole history of MPCs in hip hop. Yeah. But I didn't quite fully understand like what I could do on a sampler.
Well, we're kind of the generation that had the access to the software, innit? Yeah, so while that the original generation of MPC and SP 1200s and stuff were like, this is all I've got, and the drums are on here. Yeah. Where we were like, we can just get that stuff from Soulseek or whatever. Yeah. So there was almost no need for that. But it's cool that there is. The first time I saw an MPC, I was like, that's cool. Even though I made loads of beats off Fruity Loops, and I ended up borrowing a 1000 XL or something and having an absolute, me and J&D, an absolute nightmare trying to like load stuff on and chop stuff up, and it's like, we could have made this beat that we've made now in 10 minutes, and it's taken 45 minutes to get here. Yeah. Obviously there's like, you're getting used to your tools and stuff, but there is something a lot cooler and more malleable about like tactile. Being able to tactile, that's the word, yeah. Just having it there, it's cool, man, really cool.
Yeah, man. I think as well, like you can convey like rhythm, I think, better. It's less static. Like, I think if you're sat on a computer clicking away, I mean, obviously MIDI keyboards and stuff, but I don't like doing drums on a keybed. Like, and the drum pads always a bit naff on MIDI keyboards. So like, it wasn't until like, to be fair, until I got the MPC 1000, where it's like, oh man, I can really get into like grooves and stuff, and like I think that's like a main focus of like my tunes. Like I really focus in on like a bounce.
Did you play any instruments prior to like making beats and stuff?
I used to play bass, not amazingly well, but you know, I was fully into it and enjoyed it.
Did you ever play drums?
For years. No, but I considered getting a drum kit. Like we talked about it, didn't we, a few months back. I mean, this room's not very big, but I am tempted to get like a pocket kit.
A little pocket kit would be cool. Just a snare and a kit would be cool.
Well, neighbour's lending me a snare.
Oh, is it nice?
So I'm going to be playing around with like just seeing how it records in here and probably go from there. But I was going to toy around. One of the things I like doing is kind of playing around with new things to me. So like I was looking at building like a DIY kit. I should have put a phone on silent.
Chill, don't worry about it.
I was thinking of getting like building like a DIY drum kit, you know, like on the cheap, because I'm probably not going to plow loads of time into being a competent drummer, but like I want to be able to record samples and stuff. So like I was going to get a suitcase for like the kick drum, and like, you know, get some sort of like I don't know. I've got like a few tins and things kicking around.
Nice.
Like,
Get some cool
got
sounds going.
A few brushes and a few sticks and just hit things. But I've put together like sample packs of like me just hitting, like metal things in the room and stuff. And some of the sort of like knocks and snares. Not snares, but some of the sounds I've got. Made it into my tunes.
I remember doing a sample pack for Hashfinger came over to my studio and was recording a sample pack that he was asked to put together.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the best sound that we made? It was like using water or something and like in a glass, and there was a proper warp noise that we'd managed to make through it, and actually experimenting with like mad stuff in your house. And it just adds really... Do you end up putting stuff like that in your beats, like weird sounds and stuff like that? It kind of, I figured that was the case. Every one of these can't be a sample from a record.
That actually started from... so I did a music technology course in Keighley.
Right, nice.
Probably 2004.
Right, back in the day.
2005.
So you were like early 20s?
So it was like a 2-year course. I think I was 19 maybe at the time, 18, 19. And one of the projects we did was making a beat from like just recorded samples. I spent that whole 2-year course convincing the tutor that I could use FL Studio to do everything I needed to do. He just wouldn't accept it. It's like, no, you can't do that. You can't do it. It's just a toy.
It's just a toy.
Mate.
Because it was called Fruity Loops. People disrespected FL Studio because it's Fruity Loops, and everyone's like, it sounds like something children use. But man, some of the best beats. But Grammy Award, that I always come back to Ninth Wonder on that, because that guy was a Grammy Award winning producer using Fruity Loops. So
plenty of them, man.
Definitely. And the thing is, like hip hop always started out as like, whatever instruments were available, whatever sound producing things were available. So in our generation, Fruity Loops was so accessible from like a free knockoff copy, get a version of Cool Edit to get your samples in or whatever, and a version of Fruity Loops, and you could be away for free and be making beats rather than like getting some industry standard level, having an amazing computer that will only run Logic or something like that.
I used to love, maybe not me particularly, but a friend of mine who basically, he got me interested in making music. Like, I'd always wanted to do it, but like he was the one who kind of really triggered it.
Who was that doing it? Is he a musician?
Yeah. He's not very active anymore, but like he's in my mind legendary status. Like his production.
Who's this guy? Give me the name. Drop the name. Just so we got it.
So he makes music, or still uses the name Wrexile now, but he used to go under the name Monsta Noodle.
Cool.
And like make sort of electronic, jungle, hip hop, dub. Everything.
It was a mad inspiration to you.
Oh man, so I just give my colleague at work a copy of a sort of pseudo album that he gave us when he was 17, and it was like just a copy on minidisc. Like no one else had these tracks either. Like he kind of just handed me this minidisc, and the whole thing, like it's 11 tracks, I think 12 tracks. Yeah. It's just so coherent. Like the whole thing, like encompasses like so many genres, but like so fluidly. It's like so crazy. And this dude, like, he's like a 17, kid, man. Like, yeah. It gives me this thing. Like he used to, like, I mean, I said to you, like, I spend most of my time in my room. This guy, like, just locked himself away, and that's all he did. But my God, like, for me, he owns Fruity Loops. Like, he is
the
Fruity
guy,
Loops.
the champ of it. Yeah.
He knows that program inside out. Like, he will bend all his tunes like in such mental ways. Like he
does he upgrade as he goes though? Because this is the old classic.
No,
is he still using Fruity Loops 3? Because that's an old J&D classic that's still using the old first versions.
If I remember correctly, I think he's on version 9.
Oh, okay. So he's upgraded a little, but still.
But he bought it as well a long time ago. Like he
I did that.
So he was me too. Only recently though, I will admit, like I feel like a bit of a scumbag, but it was like, all right, I can afford it now. They deserve it, They've shaped my life.
Yeah,
so.
And it's quite reasonable, isn't it? The fact that you can buy it and then get sort of free upgrades for life. Like,
man. Dope. I mean, like their business model. I mean, they know what goes on as well. They know. Like they built their empire off the back of it, really. Like what they're doing is completely.
They're never greedy. They don't seem greedy like some companies do with it. Like
no, man. But that's it. So even back then, like the version he's got, like I think he bought it like version 8. He's got like a box version 8.
Yeah.
And I think he went up to 9 and then just kind of like, what do I need? What else do I need?
Yeah.
Mate, they're still doing amazing stuff.
Is this dude still producing then? This like?
I think he does, but he doesn't really put stuff out, and he doesn't really do it consistently. Like he used to. Like, I mean, I've got hundreds of his tunes. I think I've got somewhere in the region of like maybe 600 of his tunes, maybe more now.
Oh.
Like, funnily enough, I've got more of his tunes than anyone has in the world. Like he's such a strange character that he's probably like akin to Mad Lib, and like he's got so much stuff that it's
loads
just like
and loads of stuff, but it's just
like he doesn't even collect it that much.
I can't understand people like that, and my missus is constantly having a go at me for like not just doing the music for enjoying it, which I do. Mm-hmm. But there's always got to be an end goal. Like I won't even sit down and like play a bit of piano while she sings,
right?
Unless I'm recording it, just in case that I want to do something with that or edit or whatever. And I've got like, and I've always got a view for something. And actually, with Jamatoni, I am actually sat on hundreds of pieces of music.
Yeah.
But every single one, I'm like, okay, but then that'll happen. It's never gonna be. That'll disappear forever.
Yeah.
Some of them, but. I'm always confused by dudes who are really competent, really talented, and have just got like a, without having something for that. I always think it's a shame, to be honest. Like, it's sat there and the world doesn't get to see it, because who knows what one of those 600 songs might like do to someone's life.
It's something I've been considering recently. Like I say recently, past like year or so, is. Your opinion of stuff doesn't really matter that much. Like, your opinion of your own stuff doesn't matter. Like, if the stuff I've put out where I've been like, I mean, there's albums I've put out, technically the last one, but the one before that specifically was a turning point, because I was going to shelve it.
Really?
It wasn't meant to be released. And then I played a few stuff out live.
Yeah.
And
good reception, right?
Yeah, the reception was mental, and I was like, how much stuff maybe have I done that, like,
tons, all
people
of it.
could have been like, somebody might have enjoyed that, or like, it could have led on to me being able to do other cool stuff.
As long as you can look at yourself in the mirror, I guess. If everyone's dying over it and you can look yourself in the mirror and go, no, this is good.
Yes.
If you might be like, no, it isn't.
Yeah.
I still do that for like the negativity by Flame Griller. I'm still like, we didn't think this was good. Doesn't matter that everyone did. But once it's out there, it's not yours anymore. So and that's. Coming back to your guy with 600 songs or whatever that no one's ever going to hear, I kind of get it as well, because then there's no danger of that ever getting to the point where you're like, oh, this one, why do you like this one? Like,
yeah. I mean, in my mind, he could have, stood up against so many different artists. Like, when he was doing Jungle, like, he was Premier League jungle producer in the UK. Like, he was. Still is. Like, if you go back to it, it's not aged. It's like,
sonically speaking, not like standard. Not
insane.
Like that.
And like the equipment he had in terms of like speakers and things, like I'm pretty sure most of it was done with like crappy headphones, like earbuds, like circa 2006
all
earbuds,
top end,
like nothing amazing,
just banging
cheap
sound goodizers on him.
Not even that. His ability to like EQ stuff, like technically. He was mental at it. Yeah, he knew what he was doing.
Wow.
It's crazy. Like, the guy literally is a prodigy. So obviously for someone like me, like having someone set that bar stupidly high,
you feel a bit of a fraud putting it out.
Exactly. So going back to that, I spent years going
someone's shadow, like
But that's. I mean, I'm not saying like my stuff's amazing. Like, my stuff's.
I am.
Like.
I'm
appreciate that. I'm like, my stuff's rusty and it's stuck together with sellotape.
That's the joy of it. I think hip hop doesn't sound because like there's a lot of hip hop that's out now. I don't mean in West Yorkshire. I just mean in like the stuff that's on Radio 1 and whatever. And it's so like polished within an inch of its life. And it's like, but I remember someone who masters albums bitching about like Wu-Tang's 36 Chambers not being like needed to be remastered, and it's like, man, they recorded that on SM58s, and
don't touch
like
that.
Exactly, man. It's meant to sound raw, and it sounds sick because it's raw, and it's not like polished within an inch of its life. And I'm like, I'm not feeling it. Stuff needs to be stuck together with sellotape, man.
I think so too. I think there's heart and soul that like you can't really like separate from stuff like I think it becomes separated in my mind if you are like polishing it and like ironing out. It's almost like saying, man, you know, this thing that you did, it needs you know, tweaking and altering, and you know, like for me, if it conveys a feeling like successfully, like if that's the thing for me. But there is, I mean, I say that, but there's definitely an element of like, I want this to sound good as well. I don't want it to like sound painful. Like my hearing's knackered, so like the last thing I want to do is like literally torment people with like frequencies.
That's the worst, isn't it?
You know,
no danger of that with your stuff like that.
No, that's it. But well, actually, there is.
Really?
yeah. I think there's a lot of like crazy panning techniques. We've talked about this like in like 70s, like funk and soul and stuff.
Right,
like,
yeah. So it'd be a bit clashy if you're not calming them down in the mix.
Basically, just make a mono. Don't bother with like messing with people's ears. Like if it's stereo panning like crazily.
It's not the one, is it, man?
No, but you know, there's little things like that I'm aware of. But at the same time, like I'm not going to be like super
You are going to be super critical.
The snare's got to be good.
The snare has got to be good, isn't it? And what was the first? So who's the first person to rap on one of your beats? Because in the last few years, there's been more and more like people on a Ron Jonson beat and that. When was the first time you heard an MC on one of your beats, or did someone just come to you with a verse over a beat that you put out, not thinking they were going to rap over it?
I think it was probably Greg. aka Dank Schrader.
Word! I forgot about him.
Yeah.
He did a lot of battle rap, Dank Schrader.
He did a lot of battle
Don't
rap.
Flop. Yes, and he was competent. He was a good battle rapper, wasn't he?
It surprised me. Yeah, I think I mean, I'm not discrediting him. It's just I didn't know what to expect. Like,
of course, no one does, man.
Yeah, like, and I think he knew, and he kept it quiet, and was like. So a lot of us rocked up to like his trial thing, and we were kind of nervous for him. You know, like.
What's going to happen here? We're eaten alive.
Yeah, that's it. Like I know his rapping ability, like on you know, on a beat, but like, how is he like sort of doing the a cappella thing? And he smashed it. He won. I think he won most of his battles, to be fair. But like he ended up with a newcomer of the year battle against Bobby Rex, who's gone on to many bigger, better things. But I think he screwed himself over because he basically... Bobby and him were close. Bobby went over to his house for like tea or whatever and found out from his wife that they met when she was like quite young. And it basically got flipped on him. And Greg being Greg, like, wanted to be in on the joke and take the piss out of himself. But it's like, mate, people don't know you. People don't know what you like. You need to be careful with that.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
He got
murdered
slated by the judges.
That's pretty brutally came to their house and then used that. But like,
and you know they were still mates and everything. Like, but I think there was other stuff going on in the background that basically he didn't particularly like. So he basically just took a back seat from it. I mean, I think he did another battle after then and just kind of thought, not too fussed. Like, even now, I don't think he really records much anymore. He kind of had his time where he enjoyed it for a bit.
Is he a local guy?
Where's he Morley.
So Morley, so he is the lead. So in how long are we talking? It was before he was battling that. So you guys were mates.
Yeah, known him for
Keighley music or what?
No, not quite. So me and Greg know each other from being. I mean, I'm not like.
Here we go.
Not in this kind of community anymore, but like as a teenager, I was a juggler.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, we met over ICP basically, and funny turn of events though. Like Greg was one of them. A couple of mates ended up working for him, and like
Insane Clown Posse. This is
yeah.
I didn't even know they were I never heard of them until Eminem was moaning about them.
Yeah.
So I didn't know they had their own.
Oh,
so
man.
Juggalo was like that's the kind of follower of an Insane Clown Posse dude.
Incline Clown
Posse. Yeah.
Incline Clown Posse. Yeah. Yeah, man. So like as a teen, I was well into it, and it was just mad because like I've been to the festival as well. Like around that time, like my mates were heavily involved with them, and they started up over here. A few of them started working for him. And just recently, I don't know if you know Percy Bones, mate of mine.
Definitely seen his name knocking around.
I put him forward to support a guy called Ouija Mac, who's Psychopathic Records ICP affiliated.
That's all down with them, right?
Here. So he ended up doing the UK tour with them, which is good.
Right.
And then just off the back of that, he's been over to Ohio like last weekend.
Wow. Have they got like a massive community then? What's the? I don't understand what this.
Not in the UK. They've never really had a big presence, but like in America, yeah, they've got their little niche thing. And well, I said little. It's nowadays they're getting. You
said it with an air of, you were almost turning a bit red when you were saying, well, back in the day I used to be. Is there a sort of element of embarrassment there? But I have no judgment because I don't know anything about it. So.
A little bit. Not. I mean, I respect their journey. Like ICP for me, like their business model. I mean, it's like they teach their business model in like universities now. Like their sort of unique approach to how they've kind of dominated the music industry. I mean, I know they're underground, but they finessed a fair few major record labels and ended up basically funding their own label and being like the biggest independent label there is.
Oh man, I didn't know any of this, man.
Oh, it's they're like still I respect like the craft of what they've done, but like musically it's not really.
Kind of a bit of a mix of metal. I'm trying to think. Well, was it just all hip hop? But like,
I mean, they've done crossover stuff, but yeah, I think the '90s stuff had its place. I'm still kind of like nostalgic about it, but like for me, like musically, we're going downhill sort of early 2000s, late.
Like everyone.
Exactly. To be fair, but what they've done, like I still give them credit because like it is unique, and them as people as well. I think that's the other thing. Like nowadays with like YouTube and people watching their presence in the music world, people give them credit for just being like seemingly really down to earth, genuine, interesting people, and that for me you can't knock it.
Knock that. Oh, nice. So you met you met Dank Schrader, sort of working with like knowing about them guys and that.
Yeah.
So he was into them as well. So this is what, like
2002.
Sick. Okay, so time ago. So and you were making beats at the time, or were you like all faffing around with?
No. Actually, I was rapping at the time.
Damn, I didn't know you ever rapped, man.
Yeah,
that's cool. Under what name?
I had a million. I mean, that's another thing people slate me for. I've had like a million different aliases.
I've only really known you as Ron Jonson, I think. I'm trying to think if did you have a name prior that I knew you? I don't know whether I did.
Yeah, I don't know.
Where actually, going off on a tangent, what is the Ron Jonson thing about? Where's that from? Or is that just a pseudonym that you're like,
I don't even know how to like quantify it anymore, to be honest. I think it was like a jokey name that came about through probably that cat video, the Olong Johnson thing. It kind of came from there, and then I was like terrible at thinking of a name. I needed something.
Adam Maddox is such a sick name as well.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
But I understand why people don't use their own name. It means they can go to work and not get Googled.
Exactly. So that actually was one of the reasons why I ended up becoming Ron Jonson. So I was a youth worker at the time. And
it's the last thing you need. Facebooking you. What's he doing?
Yeah, exactly. Like, a picture of you drinking here. Yeah, like, oh, great. Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. So came up with this, alter ego. Not that it's really any different to how I am.
No, but it isn't. Yeah, it's yours, isn't it?
Yeah. So I took that, and then like I don't know. Recently, I've been thinking, maybe I should drop that. It doesn't feel like it represents what I do properly. But
it's that I'll come up with a like. Exactly. Yeah, I think it's probably a bit late in the game to change it now. Not that I don't. I like Ron Jonson as a name. I think it's good, and it is who you are. And you've got the double pseudonym of Ron Jiggy now, just for Jiggy Johnson.
Yeah, man.
People have added to it, so it's kind of something that's yours now, and I kind of like it. It does. I think it does suit what you do. There's so many worse names in double. I was meant to meet Keith Southern earlier today, and I think that's probably one of the best names in West Yorkshire. Whereas there's some really anyone with a Z or an X in their name in West Yorkshire is like, it's a played out whack name, but we're all moving. It doesn't really matter.
I know what you mean.
Horrible.
Yeah, I could go on a bit about shite names, but I won't.
Fair enough.
I mean, I include myself in that list. I'm not gonna lie, but whatever.
Yeah. There's more crap names in Dubwire than there are good, definitely. But there's only so many rapper names you go by in it. Like.
Yeah.
So so going back to Dank Schrader then. So to ICP. So you were rapping with him you were rapping at the time you met him.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear that in an American accent by any chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Happened to us all at that age, man.
Yeah. We knew a few from like, I think there were a couple from London. So we used to meet up, like we had like gatherings, like UK gatherings where we'd all meet up and like it'd just be people from all over the country, just get together, house party, and we'd usually record tunes in those house parties.
That's cool. So you don't like a community based around ICP.
Yeah, man.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was nice, like in that respect.
Very cool.
You know, it especially at the time I needed that, like, because I think for me, like, there wasn't really a group of people that I seemed to fit in with. So I mean, that's the thing about like ICP and Juggalos and that, like, it gives people who are a bit outcasty and a bit weird, a little pocket of, you know, niche friends that are really, you know, like they say, family, and like that's the thing, man. It did feel like that. So like, you know, I mean, I still keep in touch with these guys, you know. Like I said, the thing with Percy Buns, like I said, that came about through me being mates with a guy called Paul ATF, who basically he has started organising the UK events for Psychopathic Records. I think he's about to do, I probably can't mention, but he's still involved with it, and you know, it's been decades, man. Like, and you know, he works at the Gathering every year and takes there's a few of his mates that go with him now as well, and they basically just drive golf carts around. And
there's still regular gatherings of these dudes.
Oh, the gatherings in America, man, are massive.
Really?
Yeah, it's like huge, man. They've had some big names as well, like you know, like serious names, man.
Mad.
I think like ODB's played there. I saw Bushwick Bill play there, like 2003. That was ace. Yeah, man. I don't know if there's many people from Dubwire that can say they've seen someone from like the Ghetto Boys.
Nah, definitely not. Yeah.
You know, it's some cool stuff, man. But
so you ended up doing an EP with Dank Schrader, innit? That's what I definitely heard something of you with you guys together.
Yeah, we did an album.
That's right.
But I wasn't too keen on it, to be honest. Like musically, I thought, you know, it wasn't my best work.
Rappers always pick the worst beats from it, because I think of you as like
Pickens at the time.
I think of you as a producer who generally wants to like make a track, and it's not just a 4-bar loop and out. It's like got a bit more to it than that, or it feels like a complete, I don't know, there's more to it, but then there's not necessarily space for a rapper in there. So the ones that he was choosing were probably like pretty skeletal from your perspective, right?
Yeah, so that is my approach generally in making stuff. Like, I will try and not make it too technical from the get-go. Like, if it's kind of gonna work with a rapper, then I'll wait till they've done like a rough recording over it, and then
adding other bits.
I'll build a track around it. But if I'm making stuff for myself, then I want it to be dense, and I want it to be, I don't want it to get boring. I don't want it to feel like just, you know, like you say, like a loop where you just feel like, I mean, if it is a loop, maybe not make it a 4-minute long loop.
Yeah, I get it.
If it's a loop and it's nice and it's got its place, like, you know, a minute long's fine. But yeah, I think for me, like, I'm focused on like making thematic works as well. Like, I want like every album to have its own theme, and like for every album to be different in a way. But in saying that, there's no, you know, I'm not avoiding going back to like a theme or a you know, vibe, you know, because I feel like Repose like is probably my favourite album I've done, and I want to double down on that and do something like that's more, you know, technically impressive but has the same vibe, like, you know.
What happens if you did something more technical than Repose, but the reception was like not as good?
Wouldn't care.
You wouldn't. It wouldn't matter to you. You've put that work in. You feel good about it. You can sort of dust yourself down, regardless of that.
Yeah.
How much do you get? How much do you get? Like hooked up with, but like think about the statistics and like the plays and the response and the fans. Does that play on your mind much, or do you not really care, or are you always trying to grow that, or?
It varies. I mean, I'm not really super arsed. It's nice to see like people listening.
Of course.
what's really nice is like when people, you know, contact you or speak to you in person, and you know they have nice things to say, and you don't expect it.
Yeah.
So like that's really nice. I'm not too bothered about stuff I can't, like, you know, see directly. Like, you know, obviously seeing people react live is great.
Yeah.
It doesn't drive me too much. I'm less bothered about sort of doing live shows than I am sat making stuff.
That's what drives you, getting up and
Yeah,
making them
yeah.
tune, making a
Like
tune,
if
perfecting a tune.
there's times where I'm making stuff, and like this goes back to like, you know, when I first started, like when you, and I'm sure other people feel exactly the same, like where you kind of, you get that adrenaline kick in, and it's like there's not many things that really give me that feeling of like, you know, proper buzz. Like even performing live, there's times where it, you know, you feel like you've captured the mood, and you've, you know, gauged with people really successfully. But
yeah,
I think for me mostly, I like if I'm making something and it makes me feel like, oh man, that's you know, like I start shaking and like, you know, sort of, yeah, just feel literally an adrenaline rush. Like that's the thing. It does it for me, and that keeps me going.
Yeah,
keeps me interested, man.
Because you've done quite a lot of. You've definitely doing more live beat sets and stuff. You've done quite a lot for Pairside, Chills Mick. You're like a resident there, in fact. So you've done like what, 5, 6 of those at least.
Yeah,
so
I think we're coming up to the 6th one now, I think.
Nice. And you've done another one with the Ratty
the Sly, yeah.
That's him, yeah.
So he's, I think, starting regular nights here in Leeds at Plant and Deck, which is also known as the Imaginarium.
Oh, okay. Is that in, that's Kirk's, that's not far from me, is it?
No, it's central Leeds, man.
Oh,
right. It's next to, like, Bop's DJ shop.
Okay, I know what you mean.
I can't remember what the area is called, but
you've done one of them already, right?
Yeah. So the second one's next month. I'll be playing there, and I think he's keen for us to be a resident, and I'm keen to continue doing it. It's nice to have like you know, a regular place like that in Pairside where you see the same people. You know, you're involved with it. You feel part of something,
part of the scene, part of the community.
Yeah, even if you're not like playing or whatever, it's just nice to be recognised as like you yourself. Like when you saying, are you making any more tunes? It's like that's the kind of thing that maybe made me feel like, oh well, you know, should be doing a bit more. Yeah, maybe do a bit more. But like as I say, it's one of those really. I mean, leave me to it. I'll probably spend my time in here just making tunes.
But they might not come out, they might not see light of day.
Yeah, and maybe you get to a point where you're like, I don't feel like making anything for a while. But you know, it's stuff like that where you feel, you know, involved with and supported in
Dubai. I'd like if you were to separate the communities, which aren't, but like the producer community are just the nicest group of people. If you got them all in a room, which sometimes you do in certain circumstances like Pairside and all the rest of it, a lot of them are just so sound, and everyone's just so supportive and want to hear each other's beats, and they're like, what are you doing? And like learning off each other. Remember Chills was learning, you've been teaching stuff to J&D, and like everyone's just passing on knowledge. So like hip hop. Now then you take the rapper community of Dubai, it's like an absolute like the insane asylum in Silence of the Lambs, you know what I mean? Just
I mean, there is a bit of like a crossover. I think, you know, there's a few I can think of that are all collaborating and working together and promoting each other. Like, you know, Chillsmith's one of them. You know, Keith Southern's another. Precinct Phantom, Crux 2D. Like those guys work closely, man. They're always doing stuff together, always in each other's videos, always on each other's tunes. There's loads of that still going. Like, but you know, maybe I don't know. Maybe it's their ties to the beat making scene that.
I think so.
But for that, I don't know. I'm not.
People who make beats and rap are usually at least have that understanding. People who just rap are like problematic sometimes. I think it can be a bit like
It does seem supportive though, and it does seem like there's less of a feeling of like competition. Or like people try to outdo each other.
Yeah, like, there's none of that at those beat nights. Like really, a Pairside, it's not like, you know, next guy is like almost trying to beat you. It's I don't know, it just seems everyone's just happy to hear the next guy in it. Like,
I think what's really good is like people having their own thing as well, their own sound. Like, you know, people have said, you know, they can identify a sound of mine, and it's like,
yeah,
that blows
you
my
have got
mind.
style.
I can't put my finger on it.
No, I
say,
couldn't tell you what it was, but if you played a load of different beats and you had one in the middle, I reckon I'd be like, that's Ron Jonson. Like,
I think there's a few like that where, you know, you could just be like, I know who that is.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting. Maybe we should do like a project.
Do a blind test or something
Just put together something that's like.
This Dubwise Wednesday night that I'm putting on, maybe we do it as a pub quiz, little bit like who?
That's a good idea,
beat is this?
Yeah.
Win a pint.
Oh mate, it's so cool though. I love that. I love that. Like, there is such like a sort of respect and sort of appreciation for like people's own uniqueness, because like, you know, like I say, I'm a weirdo.
Yeah.
But I feel so welcome in this, like, you know, it's
everyone
so nice,
who makes music in Dubwise is a weirdo. Without
Probably.
exception, everyone's a weirdo. I think you have to be to like make that step into producing your own music at whatever level.
It's
there
just
has to be a
creatives,
sort
isn't
of
it, man?
level,
I think, you know, I think generally the creative people are
a bit
slightly
weirder.
different. Yeah, man. But
what's so physically you've put a tape or two out. How many tapes you put out now of your own?
4.
Nice.
You.
Have you? Is that like? How's that? Is it as a format? Is that something you're like happy with? Are you like wanting to put a vinyl out at any point?
Oh, man.
Or
That's the goal. Yeah, definitely working towards a vinyl at some point.
Yeah.
I'd have to be super happy with it though as well. I think if I put something together, like if it was a Repose 2, and I was like, that's definitely a significant step up, and I'm really happy with this, I know it'll stand the test of time, then I'd, you know, pursue possibly putting it out on vinyl some way, shape or form, like curates or whatever. I think tape wise I might have to probably take a bit of a back step with that, because I've been putting them together myself and sort of doing a lot of the work whilst being in print studio at work.
Yeah.
I've been made redundant. So
you might not have that possibility to do that anymore. Yeah.
I mean, you know,
good to take advantage of it while you had that opportunity.
I learned a lot through it. Like, you know, a lot of the skills were really sort of honed doing that, and it was really nice to be able to have the you know, the facility to do it and sort of the time to do it. But I mean, there's no stopping me from doing it through band CDs. You know, they put together stuff really professionally. I think, you know, AAA artists use it, you know, but
of course.
Also most of the guys in.
Did
in
you
our
shift?
music.
So all the tapes that you put out, you sold. Like, has there been enough demand? Because I don't really buy tapes personally, but I know there is a growing demand of like tapes in general.
Two of them sold out.
So,
another 2 I've still got copies of. But yeah, I've you know, I've made profits on them, and I've been.
That's all you can ask for.
Yeah, in it too, right? I was never trying to make loads of money off it.
Just don't
I
want
just
to
lose money. Exactly.
Yeah.
So just to know that I can do it and it's not a risk is great, because, you know, I wouldn't do it if it was going to be a complete out of pocket. Maybe I would, like a low level of tapes or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I managed to sell them. Like, a couple of people in America bought them, and like, it's just cool to think, like,
that's great, man.
Something you've made like with your own hands.
And it's gone out to America. That's great. I mean, how the hell are they hearing about you? That's just fantastic that they're managing to get through it. Yeah.
I think it's kind of an extension of beat making community. You know, like people on Instagram or whatever.
Yeah.
You kind of gravitate towards people doing the same sort of thing. But it's, to me, like, it seems weird that like people are sometimes interested in what I'm doing, because of everything I see on Instagram kind of reflects my interests. So it seems like, you know, everyone's doing it. Like, why is it interesting to you? Like,
yes,
you know, there's so much.
There is a lot of that
there.
To the point where it almost stagnates you in it, because it's like, who needs this?
Exactly.
No one needs this. The amount of time, prior to this year, because I am trying to turn over a new leaf with that and just stop getting in my own head about it. But like, I would almost start writing a post and then just go, who even gives a shit? Like, let's just leave it. Like,
yeah. I literally did that last night.
And it's sad, because there is someone who will care, even if it gets viewed by one person. It might impact on them even just to listen to your music or whatever. But it's such a funny thing, isn't it? That the completion of music and then the post kind of like, oh, but listen to it. It
Yeah.
does feel like almost beggy in some ways, and it's like, why would you even need that? And do I need this for my peace of mind? And like, then it gets wrapped up in your own self-esteem of like, should people be listening to my music? Because like, if they aren't, am I no good?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's it. I mean, like the last project I put out, I didn't sort of promote it as much as the other ones, but that's not to say the other ones got promoted intensively. It was very do it for a bit and then stop. But I don't know if you've seen that clip of Tyler the Creator talking about like artists should be, you know, repeatedly backing the stuff. Like if you made an album, like go back to like album cycles in the 90s, like, and touring an album, like, you know, you've made an album, you spend like a year or two then promoting that
100%.
album. But nowadays, like, you know, it's so disposable.
Certainly at our level, it's really disposable. I think because I've got a friend who does some he does touring artists and bigger names and stuff like Wombats and stuff. He's done big names, and there is that they'll put an album out and then they're touring it, and that's happening for a year or two. Whereas I think at like a level where it's not just crazy, you're almost, because you've got less followers, they're like, it's old news, so they won't even bother with it. It's like trying to reach a larger audience is like such a tricky thing without just repeating yourself over and over again, without the backing of, you know, millions of pounds. It's such a tricky thing, and you almost get bored of it yourself in a way. And like, I know people who just put music out and go, nah. I know people who just press the button on Go on Bandcamp on that midnight, and it's like that's the last thing they do with it. And it's all, and the release always just goes, and that's it. Like, apart from that first day when a few people are posting about it or whatever, and it's a shame. But then you feel like you're pestering your fans by going on about it. Even now, like, I feel going on about an album that I didn't even put out a year ago in summer, and I'm like, people probably a bit bored of me talking about this now, but it's just not the case, is it? Like, you've got it.
It's a weird dynamic. It's not one that I'm very comfortable with.
Nah, it's a funny one, man. It's really. You've been doing a good job. I was talking to Chills about the playlist game. I thought you were doing a good job about chasing those and getting on the right Spotify playlists and stuff like that. I think it seems to be good. I mean, how else would they? I suppose you said the beatmaker community, but there must be people in other countries getting to hear Ron Jonson because of like stuff like that, because of following through with playlists and stuff. But
I think it's worth doing. Like, I think for anyone our level to do it, and to do it right as well. Like, so it was Agent M who basically said,
he's the king of it, man.
Do this, because I think he's done like music business basically. So he basically gave me some pointers and was just like,
did he
do this?
Giving away the pointers.
Oh
and
man,
that.
and this is it. He didn't owe me. Like, I like met him like once maybe, and like he just basically
told you the keys to the kingdom, man.
It might have been Obi Joe actually that kind of put him on to me to talk about it. But he gave us some really good points, and then I mean, I'm not saying go pester him, don't go pester him, because like
I'm having a podcast with him, so I'll just ask him on.
See what he says. I mean, you know, he was really kind in affording us sort of a bit of an insight to how that works, and I took it probably fairly seriously for a bit, and it built up my listeners. I mean, there's times where like Spotify, I'll go up like to like, I think I've had like 4,000 monthly plays, which
crazy.
I mean, for me is mind blowing, especially when you see it change like overnight. Like, you see it jump
on a playlist. Like,
I mean, it's algorithms in it, and,
of course it is,
and weird techie stuff that you just like, you can't really put your finger on like, oh, this thing that I did had a knock-on effect to that. Like, there's a bit of everything really. Is, you know, I think if you clued into sort of like how their systems work, and same with Instagram and their algorithms and all that, like you're going to be the same, aren't you? Like, I can't be asked spending my time figuring that out. Like,
nah. And they sometimes even offer it to you if you do this, and they're like, oh, there's special achievements to unlock if you post a story every day, and you're like, oh, Jesus Christ.
No, you're all right.
Not just like put some stuff out. Like,
I mean, I've heard people say that, you know, they put money into promotion and it's done them a disservice, because then it's expecting that you're going to keep feeding that machine. But then I've heard other people say that they put money aside every month for promotion, and they said basically High Focus is kind of built on
that
this
model, surely.
And basically, if you were to kind of take it seriously enough to kind of put aside however much you can afford a month into promotion, it's more beneficial than if you were to put that money into doing a music video.
100%. definitely the case. I think you could probably waste that money if it's spent in the wrong way, or like the adverts badly worded or whatever, or it's badly targeted. But yeah, it's kind of the only way to go if you're doing it social media wise, because everything's so squeezed down. Like they don't want you to be seen by anyone until you do those kind of things. So like, yeah,
kind of sucks. But I mean, you can kind of understand it in the perspective of, well, you know, the music industry's changed, and like how do we maneuver in like modern times, like, because everyone can make music, everyone can put out music. It's dirt cheap to do. Everyone loves a bit of, you know, like toys, music toys, like, you know, anyone can do it. It's you know, I think there's certain things you can learn, and there's certain things that maybe come from a place of like you know, real sort of in touch feeling with, like, you know, being able to convey things, like, you know, if as an artist, like, you might be able to like do something really polished and fancy, but like it might be, like I say, a bit soulless or whatever. But if you can like tap into something and other people can feel it too, I think that's the game changer.
Yeah. Kind of right place, right time, right music, and what have you.
Is that a nod to my album?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, nice.
So that's the one that I nearly binned off because I didn't really feel like it was working, but
playing it out,
played it out, made me change it. And
it's always people in it, man. It's good. It's good that was the inspiration for you doing that, because I think, and one of the reasons I'm kind of doing this podcast is trying to talk to as many people in West Yorkshire as possible. It's kind of, I think, as individuals, we get in our own heads a lot about the music, but fundamentally, once like as a community, or like bouncing ideas off other people is basically like such a positive thing, and it changes so much, and so much can change as a result of doing it. Like, so yeah, just from, I mean, yeah, an example you put in an album art is like, yeah, it wouldn't have happened if you hadn't gone out there and done it, rather than just you could have just sat at your laptop and gone out,
100%,
put it in a folder.
It's stuff like that though that really can change your, you know, life course, really. I mean, for me, like, I'm so invested in music, like, regardless of like making it, but fundamentally making it.
Yeah,
that is such a huge element of my life that, like, you know, having something like that where an outside influence changes your perception or your direction based on the fact of other people's appreciation for what you're doing, it's a big thing, man. Like that's, you know, that's a real
thing. Meaning, doesn't it, to an existence almost, doesn't it? Like,
it really does. Like, and like I said, regardless of that, you know, I probably will be doing it anyway because it's fun for me. It's therapeutic. It's a way to kind of, I don't know, process things, I guess. But having other people be receptive to it is like, wow, that's good.
Mad.
But like I say, yeah, you know, doing it either way. But
what is there any thoughts about like full time in it with music and the possibilities of that?
No,
for you?
I don't think I'd want to do it.
Yeah,
to be honest, I'm pretty certain that I wouldn't want to do it. I mean, it'd be nice to live the the sort of the life of, you see, like, people spending the time digging, making beats, and it's possible. Like, if you really wanted to pursue like the YouTuber, you know, beat maker thing, you could. If you again, like, if you have the right information, you're savvy with it, you've got a good sort of, you know, conversational skill about you or whatever, you know, it's possible. But I think you'd have to sacrifice a lot to do it, and for me, I'd probably be, if it'd be like oversaturation, you know, too much time spent doing it, that I wouldn't be as driven to do it. If you've got a work-life balance, then you know, you spend your day at work kind of separated from your interests somewhat. I mean, I still, like, you know, be listening to tunes all day and looking for samples and maybe cheekily doing the playlist thing or whatever, or putting tapes out or whatever. But I think to kind of have that balance of a drive to come home and do music as as an enjoyment thing. That's key, because I have worked in sort of music jobs before, you know, as a youth worker.
Yeah.
You know, full time.
That'll suck the life out of you.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to come home and make a beat after a day of like trying to get some music over the line with like young people.
100%. So yeah, I was a music and media tutor for a year full time at one point, and that was teaching music production and DJing day in, day out. And I say day in, day out, it wasn't. Most of the time you were like stopping them from burning the building down. But when you were doing the music, even then it was like, oh, can you show us how to make some bass line? I'm like, not really that guy, but yeah, if you let's show you how to make stuff. And it's cool, but it did impact me wanting to go home and not make music.
Of course.
So
it's knackered. Last thing you want to do is like
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, like
it's a proper killer. So
that's
you as long as you can keep it as your enjoyment sort of thing on the side. Yeah.
Keen to make sure that I just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Mate, I'm probably going to draw it there. I think that's been a really cool chat, and I really appreciate you giving some time on your birthday so we could chat to you in your beautiful studio, man. And yeah, I'm looking forward to more music from you. Good
Hell
song.
yeah, man. Guaranteed.
Keep the fuck up, brother.
Oi! Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Sick.
That was Ron Jonson. Hope you enjoyed it. His music is available to listen to, so go and friggin' listen to it because it's proper good. He makes really good beats and holds it down for West Yorkshire producers. What a dude. Go check him live as well. Big up.